Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here with my brother, Rabbi Scott. There we go. That's a little bit better.
Blessings.
We are kind of starting up again with the weekly conversation. We got a couple of topics we'd like to go over and discuss. Some political, some apolitical, some. We're gonna have some scriptural references in there as well. So our intent is not to offend anybody, but kind of give a perspective as to how we see things and kind of put our 2 cents into the goings on of today, with all the craziness and the COVID whatever and all the nonsense going on in the world today. We see a lot of stuff, and we just need to, kind of speak up on it and speak out about it. So, with that being said, real quick, at the end of the month, the 27th of September, one of the groups I'm in, Project Phoenix of San Antonio, we are starting up our suicide awareness walk. We're going to do it at the Fort Sam National Cemetery. 9 a.m. If you cannot make it for whatever reason, you live in Washington, D.C., or you live in Timbuktu or wherever, go to a park, check in at that park, and tag the event. And I'll post it up later on tonight and or tomorrow. And walk your 2 miles. Get your family to go out and walk 2 miles. Everybody has a story, and that story needs to be told. We understand COVID, the whole social distancing, quarantine. Everybody seems like they're on lockdown and can't get out and can't go talk with friends and family and so on. Do it smartly, but get out there and go walk those 2 miles. It'll do you a world of good to talk with some people, get family involved. If you are going through something, please reach out to somebody. Your life matters. It matters to me. It matters to my brother. It matters to the leadership in our congregation. It matters to your friends and family, other friends and family. With that being said,
So this week, and within the weeks prior to this one, we've seen a lot of people rioting, looting, and really those who are standing up against intolerance are in fact being intolerant themselves, which really makes no sense whatsoever. Martin Luther King laid out a very good line on nothing is solved through violent protest. It is through peaceful protest that you and I can make a difference and do the right thing and change this country that we live in, or the world that we live in, to a better place worthy of the Messiah.
It's kind of. I'm gonna kind of touch on that kind of for a second. I do security overnight and on the border of like a few blocks away is a rougher neighborhood and whatnot. And my question to people watching or that will watch is, before all the stuff was going on or happened, what were you doing to make your community a better place? Were you helping the homeless guy or girl, the homeless family? Were you taking the drug addict to the clinic to hopefully get him some help, so this way they might be able to make amends with their family? I see that on a nightly basis. I can show pictures of the homeless people that I run into nightly, and it's not a very pleasant sight at all.
That being said, look, you guys who are a part of the Black Lives Matter, part of it is, what are you doing to make Black lives improve, make them matter? For those of you in the Hispanic culture, what are you doing to help improve and expand the rich heritage of those cultures. You know, for us, being of Jewish descendancy, we got involved in that and tried to help make it better. So wherever you are, improve that area. Improve your house before you start pointing out everything else. And, you know, if you want to improve relations between other cultures, then it begins with discussion. It doesn't begin with fist and burning your own community down to make an example, because that will get nothing done whatsoever. That being said, you know, we've seen several, again, riots, looting, all this stuff, and that's completely against anything scriptural or anything built what the forefathers had envisioned for this country. And it is one country that was founded under God's care and God's provision with that intent. A Judeo-Christian society and community. Those that want to take God out of the picture, I suggest that you go to a country that doesn't have God in the picture. There's several atheist countries out there where you can go and attempt to express those feelings. Here in this country, you're blessed no matter what persuasion. If you're liberal, Democrat, conservative, Republican, independent, whatever you are, you're blessed here because you have the freedom to express that, and that freedom that was given to you has been secured for you by veterans throughout the ages. So appreciate what you have and where you have it. You know, if you want to make the society better, then do something positive to change it, right? Because it's the only thing that happens by rising up in anger is it causes others to rise up in anger. There's no such thing as a doing badness and creating goodness. It doesn't happen that way, right? It scripturally, even morally, you cannot do something bad and create something good. It doesn't happen, right? So we need to put forth that we want to grow, that we want to develop in our communities. For those of us who are parents, pay attention to what they're doing at those colleges. You know, mobbing guest speakers, mobbing people that they don't agree with. It's completely uncalled for. If you go to a college and you're a young person, I applaud you because you're going and you're doing something with your life. That being said, if there's a speaker there who you don't agree with, say they're, you know, promoting Islam, they're promoting Judaism, they're promoting whatever, be respectful. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to buy the Kool-Aid they're selling, right? But you have no right to intimidate, to bully, to insult, to belittle those people for their points of view. That's not what veterans died for throughout the wars, throughout the struggles. That's not what they didn't die so you could bully somebody. So, you want to add on that?
No, go ahead.
So this week is a double Torah portion. It's Netzvaim and Veilech. And in English that means standing, and he went. So make sure wherever you go, whatever you're doing, you are standing for godly principles. And if, say, somebody watches this and you're not aligned with Judeo-Christian principles or Jewish principles or Islamic principles or biblical principles, if you're not aligned with biblical principles, then stand for moral. What is morally right? Stand for that, and in that, you know, carry that everywhere you go and pass that on to your friends and to your friends' friends. And I will tell you that this election cycle is very important because, yes, there may be flaws on either side, but which candidate is more aligned with scriptural values? I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I will tell you, do your research.
Do your research.
Yeah, look into it. Not look into what Fox says. Don't look into what ABC or CNN says, but look into what they have done in their time in office. Just look at all the papers are there, given to you by the government. Okay, so look at the source for the office that those people want to be a part of. Okay, so this week's Torah portion says that you have chosen us from all peoples, from all nations. And truly I tell you, God has in fact blessed America. It has flourished, it has prospered, but it did that under the careful watch of instilling moral principles and having reverence for God. It didn't do that under the watch of some atheist or some Marxist theology. Okay, it did it under the careful yet relaxed guide of those who followed some biblical principle. So instill that in your children. Let it not be that it is our children or our children's children who are out there rioting, burning down our own neighborhoods, mobbing at college. You're in college, you're supposed to be studying. Study. What are you doing out there doing anything else?
Get to class. God has fulfilled the prophecies through President Trump, and Trump has signed peace treaty with Jerusalem, capital 70 years after 1948. Hallelujah. What's up, Jimmy? How you doing, brother? Look, with there's this land is not perfect. Nobody in this world is perfect. There've been riots and marches and all kinds of craziness as of late. What are we doing to come together to make that positive change? Are we going to sit there and point the finger over who's right and who's wrong? If we're pointing the finger at each other, nobody's right, everybody's wrong. We need to come to the table, have the conversation of what's expected from either side.
That, and if we're both busy pointing the finger, nothing's getting done but finger pointing, right? There's a lot of work to do to improve not only this nation but this world, right? And for those of you who are so anti-America and yet live here, this is the only country where you get away with that sort of behavior. It's one of the few countries that you have the right to be that way. You know, there's not really any other country that you can behave with that manner, or even.
I have a small garden, and mostly this season it's been nothing but peppers. Figures.
Awesome.
This year, right? 2020. Nothing,
who doesn't want peppers?
Nothing but peppers. But the point is, my garden doesn't grow if I don't get out there and tend my garden. If I just let it go, it's gonna wither and die, and nothing will grow. If we're just sitting there pointing fingers at each other, nothing's gonna happen. But we're gonna sit there and point fingers at each other, and eventually start calling each other names, and eventually it'll escalate into something that doesn't need to escalate into. So, what, from my perspective, we need to roll up our sleeves, come to the table, figure out what it is we are all doing, and move forward together.
Yeah, it's like I said, nothing's going to be done by sitting there. And look, I'll admit, there's something that's irking me, and it's when these little youngsters get out there and they call somebody a racist, but they're conducting racist behavior. That makes no sense. The beautiful thing about a mirror, or in the case of the temple, is before you went to the Holy of Holies, you got to look in that pool of water and you got to see yourself. And the principle there was take a look at yourself and your actions before you start pointing fingers everywhere else. Because if your actions aren't morally correct, you need to check that box. Right? You need to get that right.
Tighten it up.
Yeah. So get to work already. What are you doing? Spending all day rioting and whatnot. Get to work. So there are three general choice platforms within Jewish thought. It's compelled choice, random choice, and quintessential choice. And oddly enough, you need to utilize each of those three. The compelled is based upon how you feel. The random is just going along with, and the quintessential is based on you're actually looking into the details of it. And yes, there are going to be sometimes you make things like when you go to Wendy's, oh, I feel like a chicken sandwich. So you get that, right? But then there's other cases, well, there's these candidates that are running to lead this nation, to have control over all of our armed forces, all of our healthcare systems, all of our school systems. And that's where you need a quintessential choice. You need to look into what you're saying. And part of that is looking in the mirror and making sure that you are all right with you and making the right choice based upon facts. Not feelings, not what anybody, not what I say, not what my brother says, but what the actual data says. Not what Mr. Cuomo says from CNN, but what is actually done in the documents and what it actually reflects. Okay? They're not hard to look up. You go to government.org, you can find anything out. So look it up. Look into it, you know. But for those of you who are believers, who do follow the Torah, the Bible, the scriptures, for you it should be whoever lines up closer with Israel, with scriptural Israel, biblical Israel. Those who are protecting life, and you do your homework. You know, you do your homework. So in this double portion this week, God gives us a choice between death and life. He gives us a choice between living in chaos and living with growth, prosperity, understanding, peace. So the choice is ours, but we can only do that by instilling and walking in moral and biblical principles. Encourage your friend, your neighbor to do the same, to look at the facts. You know, because the longer that the body of faith stays silent, the more we just have to accept the world that we live in. And Hashem, Elohim, God, Jesus for some of you, did not cause you to be so that way you would sit down and shut up. He caused you to be so that way you would improve this world and prepare yourself and the world for His coming, for the King Messiah's coming. So get with it. Make the world a better place. Improve the world. Don't stand idly by while these people want to feed craziness and craziness. Stand up and say, no, that's enough. No, that's enough. If you want to do that somewhere else. I didn't sign up for, I know he didn't serve for these people to run around like lunatics. So, yes, and that we agree, and that's a subject for another time. So when the Torah says you shall choose life, this is not only just a command, but it's a promise and a blessing for you and I. So within that, again, I could go on, but I'm not going to for the sake of just a brief message, because I had enough of the nonsense that's being spewed on most of the major networks.
As well as social media, all over social media. Pick a platform on social media.
So I am going to call out then NAFC. I'm going to call out Officer Tatum, calling out Liberty Hangout, I'm calling out Ben Shapiro, I'm calling out the conservative twins,
The Hodge twins.
and I'm calling out Mark Lamont and Mr. Cuomo, who always loves to point out mistruth. Stand up and do what is morally right, whether you like somebody else's opinion or not. This country was founded on biblical principles, and yes, there were a lot of atrocities that happened to many ethnic groups, from the African Americans to the Hispanics to the Oriental community to the Jewish community to the Irish community. A lot of atrocities happened throughout generations. But
And there have been a lot of atrocities in the name of religion that have occurred all across the board as well.
But we don't stay in that time period. We learn from it. We record the history, keep a reminder, but we move forward. And we come together. Thank you. So we come together and we see the possibility of Tikkun Olam, a better world tomorrow. And that's the point. Anybody who wants to stay in the past, hey, all right.
God bless you.
But they don't have the right to influence or to subdue our liberties, and we don't have the right to subdue theirs. So learn. Go ahead.
November, between now and November, you should be doing your homework on the congressional candidates, any office that's up for election, whether it be the presidency, whatever, governorship for whatever.
Just keep on,
Brother Jamie's an old corpsman, so and he was a FMF corpsman, so he hung out with some Marines. Roy, what's up, brother? But yeah, do your homework now, from now to the election time, and come election time, hopefully you've studied all the candidates. Get out and vote. Your voice matters. Your voice matters. Your vote matters. If a few months ago, if you went to one of the protests, one of the riots, whatever, then you can go to the election poll and vote.
Yeah.
Wear a mask. Apparently they work.
For real, if you stand in line at HEB to get a loaf of bread, you can go vote.
If you go to Walmart, you can go vote.
Yeah. So, same rules. Social distance.
Yep. Wear the mask.
Cover that mouth up, and go do.
Well, you just told people not to. Well,
wear a mask. Wear a mask. There you go.
Tighten it up, old man.
So, yeah, wear your mask, and because your vote matters. Every vote matters, but that's not just it. It's not just voting. It is
get involved in your community.
Yeah.
Whatever community you're in, whatever community you're involved with, get out there, make a difference for the better. That being said, we're getting ready to stop to end this live here real quick in a few minutes. But the end of the month, September 27th. I'm plugging it again.
There we go. Hey Roy, you at least owe him lunch for this. You know that, right?
Oh, we'll get tacos afterwards, bro. You don't even know. But Project Phoenix, 22 till none. Fort Sam National Cemetery, suicide awareness walk, 2 miles. If you can't make it out there because you're in a I owe him a sandwich. If you can't make it out there for whatever reason because you're not here locally, let's say you're in Seguin and you don't want to make the drive in, or you're in Oregon or Washington or wherever in the country, or Buffalo. Jasmine, if you see this later, get to a park with some of your college friends, check in, tag the event. Wherever you're at, September 27th, tag the event, go to a park, check in, walk your 2 miles. You have a story that needs to be told that'll help somebody somewhere avoid the ultimate making a permanent solution for a temporary problem. So make sure you get involved.
Yeah, make sure you get involved with suicide awareness. Make sure you get involved with your community. Make sure you get out there and vote. Make sure you do your homework on the who's and what's of the candidates, because all that is
That thing's bothering me, man.
all that is vitally important. And listen, when you see these people talking nonsense, encourage them to do their homework. All right, just don't let them sit there and spew nonsense. Though they have the right to do it, encourage them to do their homework. Don't get into an argument with them. Just say, hey, look,
Don't lay hands on nobody.
yeah, just do your homework. I mean, people are running around.
Oh, speaking of sandwiches, Roy, you got to get over to Gino's and try the Rabbi Scott. Finally, brother. Come on. It's been a
Yeah.
couple years now. Get out there.
That being said, we're gearing up for Rosh Hashanah. So all of you who are watching, y'all are invited to join us. We'll be making the announcement very soon at bekmc.com. Look it up. If you feel like contributing to this podcast that we're doing, hit /donate, label it podcast, and that way you'll help keep this going for my brother and myself. And with that being said, blessings, make a difference. Your community, your world is in your hands, and it should be in the guidance of God. Blessings.